Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live broadcast. It's Friday, the 24th of May, 2024. And my name is CareyHolzman. And today we have a mini PC review that's from a manufacturer I've never heard of before. And I thought we'd evaluate it together. I've not even so much as opened the box. So we're going to have a true, real, authentic, genuine, unscripted live unboxing as it ships, including the condition of the operating system, the version, what's included. I have no preparation and no rehearsal for this. They promote it as being powerful, compact, and cool. So we'll see for ourselves. What they've sent is not only the mini PC, but also a bright orange oversized mouse pad. So that was a nice little add in there. And hello to all of my friends joining us in the chat. I'm laughing because I realized I'm trying to get right to the meat of it without so much as a little warm up here. So our friends over at Acronis are offering everyone a 30% discount on the backup software and image cloning software Acronis. And we have several interviews demonstrating the product here on the channel if you're new and you've not seen them before, as well as RoboForm, a password manager program that's very affordable, 30% off for these viewers, you guys only, any new customers, as well as our friends over at VIP CDK deals. Again, 30% off just for you guys. It's just something they do for our audience. And if you want to take advantage of those savings, do know that everything is guaranteed. Everything has free trials. You can try it before you buy it. And if there's anything that occurs that is not expected, let them know. They'll take care of it. Otherwise, let me know if they don't, because it'll get done. So I stand behind all of the deals I offer you. Otherwise, I wouldn't offer them to you. That's just the bottom line. And that's why we don't have too many. There's not too many companies out there that are willing to do what these companies are going to do or are doing. And decide for yourself if you think that's something you can find useful. Try the trials and determine if it's as good as if you agree with me. I use these products, all of them, in my business, and I've been using them for years and years and years. So perhaps your needs are different than mine, but you won't know until you check it out yourself. Now, hello and a thank you to our good friend Peter Laycock, Buster, joining us from Scotland, a very generous contribution earlier today, and a super chat just now of 10 pounds. He says, hello, Carey and Marlena and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland, where the temperature in Edinburgh is 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 12 degrees Celsius. Ooh, that sounds lovely. We're going to be over 100 degrees all this week and next. And so summer is here, and the brutality and oppressive heat is just beginning. Prepare. That's what I tell myself. It's coming. And every year it's hotter than the year before. So we'll get through it. And so if you hear any background noise, staticky noise, that's the air conditioner running. That'll be running through October. So just keep that in mind. Now, we did have the merch website, the careyholzman.com website, had a problem, which was brought to our attention by one of our viewers. And sure enough, we verified it was a problem. The good news is the problem is now resolved. So if you were looking for a case badge or well, let's just take a look at the site and see what we got up there. As a reminder, I don't run the site, so that's all run by my sister. She takes care of the payment process, the shipping, and she's really quick about it. She's also the one who maintains the site. So if we share the screen here, we can look at it together. Bear with me just 1 second as I set up OBS to share that. Okay, so careyholzman.com or careyholzmanshop.com or shop@careyholzman.com should all take you here. And the problem we had was down below under featured products. It would say it was loading a database that would never load, or that the database was missing. And anyway, my sister finally found some time to get it sorted out. It's back up and running. And these are the items we currently have in inventory. And they ship worldwide. All the prices include the cost of shipping and the cost of packing and any tax. All of that's included. So what you see is what you get. There's nothing hidden, no surprises there. So these are all limited edition products. The lighters are one of one. We have about 12, but each one's done by hand, so no two are ever the same. And I think she's kind of doing them as they sell. I don't think she's got all of them done yet. I think the logic is when we get rid of the ones we have already done, then we'll do the next ones. And so each one will be different. So if you don't see a design you like, hang in there. Perhaps there's one coming. The case badges are metal engraved with a double-sided sticky tape, say inspired by CareyHolzman, with a replica of my chicken scratch signature there. And I think those are like $20. Yeah, $20 shipped anywhere in the world. And yeah, in that way, it helps support the channel, show your support of the channel. And you've got something that you can move from PC to PC. Since it's made of metal, it's not a sticker that will fade or anything like that. Our mouse pads are still available. Again, those are limited editions. The case badges, once these are gone, I don't think I can get any more. Everything kind of changed after the pandemic, and a lot of things still haven't come back. So there will be some upcoming changes in the probably in 2025, I would imagine, as we shift and pivot to whatever the public interest suggests to us that they want. Okay, so as we move on to today's mini PC, again, I've never heard of this company, Maxtang. This is their website, and this is how they're promoting the product. Let's see. Windows 11 Pro, DDR5, Gen 4 NVMe, 2.5 gig LAN, USB 4. I mean, these are great specs. Price is reasonable. You're looking at $430 to $740, depending on how you want to spec it out. The CPU is AMD. It's a Ryzen, well, depending on which model we want to look at. They've got several different models here. A Ryzen 6600H and 7735HS. There's different plugs for, we have a worldwide audience. So right now they're shipping to the United States, Europe, Japan, the UK, Australia. I don't know what others is. I don't know what that means. Let's see, Windows 11 Pro. So you can say, I don't want an operating system and I don't want Wi-Fi. And that should then lower the price. Like if we wanted to get this as cheap as we can get it, we're also going to be making it as slow as we can get it, right? You're going to get what you pay for. So just as an example, as I just try and spec this out minimally, that looks like a minimal, or here, we'll do no RAM and no storage. That means it's bare bones and we can add our own RAM and storage. Don't see an updated price. We have a $25 off coupon, valid until May 12th, 2024. So the 7735HS is 8 cores, 16 threads. And the Ryzen 5 6600H is 6 cores, 12 threads. Of course, that's going to be a less expensive model. Using an APU with built-in graphics, the Radeon 680M or 660M, depending on the chip, and RDNA2 is the technology in the built-in graphics card. It'll have a maximum 64 gig of RAM that it supports of DDR5. It does say there's a maximum 2 terabyte storage limit, but I don't believe there is such a thing as a storage limit. This is just something that's a boilerplate disclaimer. It'll support up to 3 displays at 4K 60 Hertz, 2 are through HDMI, and 1 through a Type-C USB. It has Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2, assuming you order it with the Wi-Fi. A built-in 2.5 gig LAN. It's a TDP of 45 watts, so it's low power consumption. And they've got what they call a U-shaped design for what they're claiming to be superior cooling technology. Of course, a big part of the cooling is just how much power you're drawing, right? So if you're going to draw less power, you're going to create less performance, you're going to create less heat. It's going to cost you less in energy consumption. So it's the rules of physics and reality will always apply, always have reasonable expectations unless you live in the future. Let's see, we've got 3.2 gig base clock on the 7735HS. I think this is the one they've sent us here. We'll take a look in a second. A little more about the graphics. Of course, DDR5, Gen 4 NVMe. Fast wired and wireless, I agree with that for sure. Cool, and I think this is supposed to be quiet, not quite. I see people do that all the time. They always move that E around where it doesn't belong. Let's see, VESA mounting options. So you can mount this behind your monitor. You never even have to look at it if you don't want to. A little more on the triple screen display support. Some examples of how you could use it. Some dimensions and what's included in the box. And if we look over at Amazon, for people that were curious, is it available on Amazon? Maybe, it depends on the configuration. Here's a 16 gig 512. This will be pretty minimal. Looks like just under $500. That's a lot of computer for $500. That's a pretty good price. Considering you're getting a case, power supply, motherboard, Wi-Fi, storage, operating system, DDR5 RAM, cooler. You'd be hard-pressed to put together a desktop anywhere close to that. However, a desktop's obviously going to offer you more upgradability, but it will take up more space, be heavier to move, be more of a collector of dust. So this isn't meant for everybody, but certainly I think most people, most average home users, would find this more appealing than a desktop computer. Only the gamers and enthusiasts would likely be the ones who would say in general that this is not upgradable enough, as well as maybe people that are specialists who have specialty software needs. But these are all people that, in theory, should not be buying on a budget if they're that particular. Now, let me go back to camera one here, and we can get this unboxed and take a look at how it's packaged and what it looks like inside, and how it comes out of the box as far as like an operating system. Well, it does tell us we have Windows 11 Pro. It doesn't say if we've got 22H2, 23H2. And Dennis Paulson just became a member of the channel. Right on. Thank you, Dennis. Welcome into the Tech Club. Ben Laird joins us from Scotland with a £2 contribution. There's Mark Gaines joining us as well from Northern Ireland. And we've got viewers all over the world here joining us. Luke Greenia, Alan Lindos, Thomas Backenstow, Gerald Wallace saying hello. Ole Peterson, our friend Oystein in Norway says hello. And yes, welcome in everybody. Jose Lopez with $1 super chat, also a member here. Thank you, Jose. Let's take a look at what's in the box. I'm going to try and do this unboxing as though you and I were doing it together, right? This is not polished and edited. This is as real life as you can get, as far as I can tell, virtually, through the camera. So we're just going to share this little adventure together, and we'll share the experience at the same time. Okay, so in here we've got good packing material. And get that scratch, do it. At the bottom of the box, we've got our power supply. We've got a SATA adapter, so apparently you can add a 2.5-inch drive inside of here. Screws are likely for mounting the VESA mount. We have an HDMI cable. We have our American power cord. We have a standard laptop style power supply. And we have our VESA mounting bracket. So that can be mounted against the wall, the back of a monitor, the side of a desk. And we have some rubber feet optional that you can stick on. And that's it. That's all that's in the box. See anything else? Didn't it say there was a thank you card in here? Okay, well, maybe not. All right, let's just set all that aside here. Get rid of that. Let me bring this up close to the camera and we'll take a look at it together. Feels like it's got a metal frame around it with a plastic top and bottom. Here's the front of it. We've got our power button. We've got, maybe that's a hard drive LED. Not sure what that one is. USB Type-C, that should be USB 4, I understand. 2 USB Type-A's and our audio output, 3.5 millimeter jack. Nothing on the sides but ventilation. Nothing on the bottom but ventilation and screws to get to the RAM and storage. On the back, we have a standard barrel power connector. We've got a USB 3 and what looks like a USB 2, 2.5 gig of LAN on our 2 HDMI outs, and a Kensington lock if you want to lock this bad boy down. And it looks like some more screws back here. I guess if you wanted to take the motherboard out, and they do have sort of a tamper-proof sticker there just to see if you get into it, although it's not really enforceable in the US to change any warranty status simply because you opened it. I find those tamper stickers are pretty useless, at least here in the United States, because they don't really mean anything. However, it would seem unlikely you would need to take that out for any legitimate purpose that wouldn't potentially void your warranty, because that implies you're taking the whole motherboard out. In order to get to your RAM and storage and Wi-Fi, assuming the Wi-Fi can be updated, you would simply remove this panel, or at least that's the way it appears. Let's take a quick look before we plug it in and just see if I'm correct in my assumption here. Not a big fan of assuming, however, nothing wrong with anticipation. So I like that, first of all, the rubber feet don't have to come off to get the screws out. That's a benefit of them shipping it with the rubber feet for you to put on. I like that. I like that you can order this bare bones and put as much RAM and storage and operating system as you want in there. It's always cheaper if you buy it already equipped, because they're not going to use high dollar items and they're buying it in a massive scale. So their price per unit is cheaper than yours and mine when they buy the RAM and the storage. They're also not buying the highest performance because they want to keep the price reasonable. And they're typically also not buying the lowest performance because they don't want it to hinder the appearance of the performance of the machine. So the model on this is called a NUC 7735HS. So they did send us the higher end model, the 7735, which is good. I don't know, once we've taken the screws out of here, there's no pull tab or anything to get that bottom lifted up, which is a little challenge. We'll grab a small screwdriver or something that we can kind of slide in and use as leverage to lift. There we go. It's not like it's clipped in or anything. It just lifts right off. In fact, maybe even shaking it while it's upside down would result in this lid falling off. Of course, we don't want to damage anything. Now, unfortunately, it appears it only has one RAM module installed, which means it will not be in dual channel the way that it's shipped. But fortunately, because it's not in dual channel, if you buy another matching memory module, you'll double your memory without any waste. You won't have to take one out, and you'll be in dual channel and double your RAM at the same time. So whether you see that as a good thing or a bad thing depends on how you want to look at it. So this little bottom piece here has, well, just bring it up closer, has the space and the notches cut out for adding a 2.5-inch drive there if you want to do that, with the ventilation more or less being blocked by that on the bottom. If you choose to do that, it does add more heat in the box. So I generally recommend keeping anything other than the NVMe and RAM and Wi-Fi card. Keep that in there. Everything else you can move through USB. I would think you'd be much better off through USB for a number of reasons, the least of which, or one of which, would be the heat control. Keeps the drive cooler, keeps the machine cooler. You don't have to. I mean, we have ventilation on all three sides, so that's pretty good, but there's no fan to move that ventilation, to move the air rather. So the fan is on the other side where the CPU is, which you wouldn't want to get at. CPU is soldered on, just like a laptop. It's not upgradable, just like any other mini PC. And let me bring this up. We'll take a closer look at what lies beneath. This is our NVMe storage with a heatsink on it, and beneath that, you can see our Wi-Fi card. That's pretty common. The Wi-Fi card going underneath the NVMe drive. There's no secondary NVMe slot, nor did they say there would be one, but just verifying. This is our CMOS battery. This is our DDR5 RAM module made by Crucial, so it's name brand memory, 16 gigs, 5600 speed, and then available socket right there to add more. That's pretty much all she wrote. It's a pretty straightforward device, nothing hidden, nothing surprising. That's what we want to see. We also have a little connector somewhere. Here it is. Let me bring this back up and show you. Right above the RAM module here, if you look closely, it says SATA, S-A-T-A. That's where the adapter will go to plug in a 2.5-inch drive into the lid. There, now I got it covered. All right, so I guess we can put it back together and turn it on and see how it fires up for the first time. I always always forget, did it go on this way or did it go on this way? It only sits one way, so I like that too. No guessing. I would suggest when you're taking the bottom off of your mini PC, you pay attention to which way the words face on the stickers. Usually they face towards the front, but they don't all do it the same. And in some cases, you can put it on either way. It probably doesn't make that much of a difference, honestly, except if I put a 2.5-inch drive in there and I put this lid on backwards, the cable's not long enough to reach to the opposite side. So sometimes it doesn't matter if you put if the lid can go on more than one way, it's usually because it doesn't really matter. My OCD wants to put it back the way that I took it off, and I just didn't pay attention. Too excited. Got the name of the manufacturer right up there in the corner. It's steel gray and black. This is a polished black, so it's going to show fingerprints pretty bad. But not exactly sure why you'd be handling it a lot. Okay, our power adapter is so one of the issues with these power adapters is they're quite often made by a different company, and in that company's name is on the power adapter, not Maxtang. As a result, it's very easy to get these confused when you are if you've separated these two things, the power adapter and the mini PC, and then months later or weeks later, you go to set it back up and you've got a box full of these. How do you know which one goes to which device? So unless it actually has the manufacturer's name on the back, simply plugging it in and saying, well, that fits, it's got to be the right one. You'll probably find several will fit, not just, it's a pretty common barrel connector. And if you plug in the wrong one, you'll probably find smoke coming out and you've completely killed the unit without warranty. So what I'll do is I'll grab either a label maker or, since these power adapters are usually black, I'll get a silver Sharpie and I'll simply write the name of the manufacturer, in this case, Maxtang. If I have more than one model of Maxtang and the power adapters have different voltages, then I will write the name of the model on it as well. But this is a brand new manufacturer for me. I've never heard of the company, and I'm excited to see something new. And this power adapter is, how many volts? Oh, it's a typical 19 volt, 90 watt power supply. We see those like on the HP 1 liter minis, although this plug wouldn't fit in there. it looks like about the same power requirement. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see what she does. HDMI cable here. Ethernet. Oh, don't want the Ethernet on our first boot up because it'll force me to create a Microsoft account. I don't use a Microsoft account personally. My machines are usually built for customers and clients. So it wouldn't be professional for me to leave a login account, nor would it be safe or secure. So when I build new computers or I'm testing computers, I have no need or desire for an online account. I want to do everything locally. Then I give it back to the customer and they can use it locally or online, however they choose. I don't want to leave traces of my past logins. I think it's very unprofessional and entirely unnecessary. So when we set up the computer for the first time, Microsoft is really going to push that Microsoft account. And they're going to continue being more aggressive with this as time goes on. But for now, we can still use a local account and it's all legit. We're not really having to do anything questionable that would, have a potential impact on the security or reliability of the PC. Let me go back over to my chat room because I can't see you guys. Hey, there's everybody. Yeah, I think when we set up Studio C, we're going to do 2 monitors somehow, so I don't have to keep going back and forth. It's very, very, as you could tell, quite disruptive. Okay. What was I getting? I was getting something. I think we're ready to turn this on. Let me go over here to my HDMI input and put myself up here in a corner. Again, what we're emulating here is, let's say you bought one of these. You're going to go through everything I'm doing live, and it's likely going to take you this much time if you take out the talking of explaining what I'm doing and explaining the details of the unit or answering questions. I want to make sure you understand when you make your purchase what your expectations should be so that you won't be disappointed or likely will not be disappointed. Let me go ahead and fire it up for the first time. Here we go. Power. That's good. Power's on. I feel air coming out of the, what'll be your right side. Oh, so I'm not a fan of this. This Windows has booted without going through an out-of-box experience. That's always a little bit janky because we don't know what options were selected. We never got a chance to set up a local account or an online account or to even set our username. I don't believe this conforms to Microsoft's requirements, but I'm not Microsoft and I'm not the tech police. But that does always make me a little nervous because I don't know the manufacturer. Now, if a friend does this for you, or you have a tech who's done business with you or that you trust and they're doing this as a service for you, that's one thing. But for an unknown first experience, that's a little off-putting. We should be going through an out-of-box experience. That doesn't necessarily mean they've done anything wrong. And anything they've selected during the setup, we can always change. However, how do we know, right? Now, a clean install is always an option if we want to go through that. Just better safe than sorry. If you order this bare bones or you order it without a solid state drive, you will provide your own operating system anyway. But I don't like to see that. So we've got good specs, we've got a good price, we got good looks and a good design that looks easy to access. All of those things are pros. This is a con. This is a bad thing, not a con, like they're ripping you off. This is a, we're making a list of the good and the bad. I would chalk that up as not quite bad, but also not good, somewhere in the middle. Let's take a look at how, or rather what version of Windows we have installed here, specifically 21H2, 22H2. We'll right click, we'll go to System, and I see the Ryzen 7 7735HS. That's good. We are a version behind with 22H2. Remember, 24H2 will probably be coming out here in the next 6 to 8 weeks. That's what it looks like. I don't know any better than anybody else, but speculation, I would speculate 6 to 8 weeks. So that would put us 2 versions behind. One of the first things I like to do is update the computer, and there's always going to be missing updates. Heck, I ship computers to clients all the time, and while it's in shipping, there's more updates that come out. Let's take a look at what Windows is activated. Helps if I spell it right. Yes, we are active. And then let's take a quick look at the device manager. Make sure everything in there looks happy. It's all good. All right, who makes our network stuff? We have an Intel AX200 Wi-Fi adapter. And then the wired LAN is a Realtek Gaming 2.5 gig controller. Good to know. Now I can plug the network into it. Since we never had to go through the setup, I guess I could have had network plugged into it right from the get-go. Then we want to watch that little globe down here become a little PC that tells us we've been assigned an IP address from our router and that we're online. And that usually just takes a minute. There it goes. Now we can visit Windows Update. And I will turn this feature on. Turn this feature on. And this one on. This one on. And we'll grab these optional updates while we're in here. These are usually updated drivers for things like the chipset, the network cards. That's pretty common, sometimes video drivers and things like that. Because this is AMD, we'll also want to update the AMD Adrenalin software, which is right there. I'm sure that's an old version because it's updated constantly. I would assume anytime I get a new AMD computer that this AMD Adrenalin is always going to be missing an update. Even though it says it's up to date, I want to check for updates right now. And it's changed its mind. So we'll go ahead and start that download while we do these downloads. Because my connection here at Studio B is rather slow, this could take a while. And it's the primary reason why I prefer to do this off camera and then just get on with the review. Today I decided to do a little different because I don't like doing the same thing over and over. It's also been a while since the last time we did a true unboxing without any sort of prep or verification that everything is the way it's supposed to be. The problem potentially that I run into in doing live videos is if things aren't the way they're supposed to be, it can completely interrupt the flow of the video and even make it impossible to complete the video until a problem is addressed. Like if we had bad RAM, if the product arrived damaged in shipping, if something's missing out of the box. We've dealt with some of these experiences live on camera. And you think it's frustrating when you order something and that happens. Imagine being live on camera and being unable to complete a project until you reach out to the manufacturer and work out a solution. It could take weeks. So thankfully, everything's gone really well today so far. Again, with Maxtang, I've never worked with this manufacturer before. And quite often when you're dealing with a lesser known manufacturer, you get more value for the money a lot of times because they have to give you an incentive to pick them over a better known brand name, right? How are they going to convince you to buy them if they're charging the same as other manufacturers or more that are well known in the industry? And how else are they going to get well known in the industry? So I believe, and I haven't compared the prices spec for spec, but I believe they're pretty price aggressive on this, and I believe that's why. All right, let me go back to full screen on camera 1. And while we're waiting for any for these updates, if you have any questions regarding this mini PC or other mini PCs in general, any concerns, let me know what they are. And we will do that now while we're waiting for these updates to download and install. There's Slappy joining us, says hello. David wants to know if we can malware check the PC. Yes, let's go ahead and do our updates first, and we can certainly put malware bytes on there and scan it for sure. Russell Stewart joins us and says hello. There's John Williams. DJ Matrix, Paul Howe, Chris Johnson, all say hello. Oystein verifies the $10 and $25 coupon codes seem to work. Very good. Appreciate that feedback. Marco joining us all the way from Italy. He says it's cold-ish in Italy. Well, just have a nice warm slice of brick oven wood-fired pizza. That'll warm you right up. I'm getting warm just thinking about it. So jealous. Tell me more about how cold Italy is. Marco got together with Mitch and I before he left to go back to Italy, and we went and got some pizza, and it's a great little visit. Terry joins us and says hello. There's Matthew Burden and Dennis Paulson joining us. Our friend Luke Greeny in Vermont says hello, as well as Easy Otter. Marco says he's wearing a sweater. I think I wore a sweater last in 1979. It's been a while. That was probably the last winter I spent in Detroit. Johnny Ortiz with a $2 super chat. Right on. Thank you, Johnny. Alvin Shaver also with a $2 super chat. You guys rock. Thank you. Tony Oliver says it's warm here in the Canary Islands. I bet it is. Sounds lovely. Ian Card Geordie Gamer says good evening from Newcastle in England. Welcome in, Ian. Cheers. Big Dog wants to know, who is the target audience for a PC like this? So pretty much your average computer owner would be your target audience, sort of your on the consumer side or even potentially on the business side. This would replace a desktop computer for most consumers and businesses. So that's probably somewhere between 70 and 80% of all computer owners. Now, I'm giving you this information not from the manufacturer, but from my own experience in the industry over 30 years. Because every consumer is different and every business is different, this would not conform or meet the needs or expectations of all 100%, but the vast majority, for sure. I think the biggest problem that you have with getting the vast majority to buy them is they don't know they exist, or they think because they're small, they're not going to be powerful enough. And that's what we're here to do, is to make an introduction. I'm not here to sell this to you. I'm here to review it, to take an unbiased look at it. And at the end of the day, it's really up to you to decide if it's right for you. It's not up to you or me to decide if it's right for anybody else. And that's about the most I can answer that question. If everybody else is doing something, it doesn't necessarily mean it's something I should be doing. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're right and I'm wrong. Just because they all agree on something doesn't make it true or factual. It's an opinion that is mutually agreed upon, which may make up a majority of people on any given subject of religion, politics, or preferences about vehicles, construction, housing materials, what you're going to eat for dinner. So yeah, it's kind of a difficult question to answer, but I would say overall, the masses in general, if they knew such a product existed and they knew just how much they were getting for the money, I'm sure more of them would be sold. So they're still trying to break through the stereotype and the the set expectation that computers have to be these big boxes. Most of my customers never open their computer, never, ever, 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 not to dust it, nothing. There's no reason they need that big tower. They're not upgrading. It's taking up a lot of room and it's using more power. So if they knew this existed, they'd probably buy it. Raj D renews his membership. Hey, right on. Thank you, Raj. He's a member now for 14 months. Just looking to see if you guys have any questions about this or other mini PCs that I can answer while we're waiting for the updates to download and to install. So if you do have a question regarding mini PCs or this specific one, this would be the time to ask. And let me just check how our update is doing here. Yep, we're still working on it. In fact, I think, can't see the screen that small. Bear with me for just a second so I can see it as well as you guys can. Yep, that did finish. So while those other updates are downloading, we can install the AMD Adrenalin. We can multitask and do multiple things at the same time. Just waiting here for the Adrenalin software to start up. Oystein wants to know, is it Gen 3 or Gen 4 solid state drive? According to the website, this states it is Gen 4. We've not run Crystal Disk Mark on it to see how fast of a drive they put into it. But remember, if they put a really fast drive into it, it's going to raise the price. So I would expect, without testing it, I would expect around 4,500 to 5,500 megabytes per second. I definitely want to see over 3,600, which would be Gen 3 speeds. Sometimes you'll see something advertised as Gen 4 that's still running at Gen 3, depending on what drive they put in it. So we'll have to visit that once all this is done. And I don't know why my Adrenalin software hasn't started. What the heck? Is there something behind this window I'm not seeing? What am I missing? Oh, there, finally it starts. Okay. I don't know if I was being impatient or if I didn't click it correctly the first time. There we go. Okay. Now we're cooking with gas. This is all stopped. Interesting. Okay. We'll let this finish. Whoops. Didn't mean to click on it. We'll let this finish. We'll probably want to reboot. And then we'll restart the computer and continue our Windows update. This would be a standard procedure for any new PC that's pre-built that you're buying. I would not recommend you plug it in and just start using it without going through all the updates first, just to make sure that you're getting the best performance, reliability, and security before you just start loading it up with stuff. Should you run into any problems, you'll know it wasn't because of an update or lack of an update, I should say. And this helps take your time and set it up right, and this will help you get it up and running smoothly and faster. Slow and steady wins the race every time. Sometimes we get too anxious, too impatient, and we start doing too much at once. And then when something crashes, which is more than likely going to happen, we don't know which of the things we did caused it. So we do things, take bites, and you'll be through it before you know it. And if anything should occur unexpectedly throughout the process, you'll know exactly what caused it. Remedy that before you move on. Solo just became a says welcome supporter, but he's got a 12 next to his name. So he's been a supporter for a while. That's a little confusing, YouTube, but thank you, Solo. Thank you for renewing your membership here. Dustin Fuller with a $2 contribution. Thank you, Dustin. Raj D renews his membership, now a member for 14 months. Thanks, you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel and enabling us to do and continue doing what we're doing here, to evaluate and review products without bias, or, you know, we don't have a dog in the race. So basically, I'm free to say and be honest for the good and the bad without any negative consequences. And at the same time, I'm not making any money if you buy it. So it's really just, I think, as genuine as I can make a review. So if you appreciate that, well, we appreciate your support in enabling us to continue to do these kind of reviews. A lot of reviews you see on YouTube aren't really reviews at all. They're just commercials, just so you know. If I genuinely like a product, I'll tell you. It's not because I'm getting paid. Mitch Heyman says, good afternoon, Carey. Hope you're doing well. Back at you. Back at you, my friend. Let's see how our AMD Adrenalin is doing. Finished? It finished. Full screen over here for a moment. And we'll click restart and let that do what it needs to do. And then we'll go back and finish up those Windows updates. We can load Crystal Disk Mark on this. I don't know what that's all about, but it seems to have resolved itself before I had a chance to click on it. I'm always okay with that. Let's see what our boot up time here is. Given this isn't really a good way to measure boot up time in the middle of a completing install. So do bear in mind, OEM is apparently my username. Hi, my name's Oem. You could call me Oem. All right. Back over to Windows updates. Essential Working Too Hard said that was 10 seconds. Not too shabby. Let's continue where we left off on these updates here. Anything that says retry likely has either updated already in the background, is now a duplicate. And that's normal, nothing to worry. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It obviously does not want to put the same update in twice. So basically let it complete its current round. Don't freak out about anything that's failed. If it truly failed, when we reboot and recheck updates, it'll come back. If it doesn't come back, it's because it installed successfully the first time, and trying to put it in a second time or third time isn't going to succeed. And you want to see that. Believe me, you want to see that. David Graham with a $2 super chat. David Graham wants me to look for the Ace Magic trick on this mini PC. You're going to have to be more specific. What is it you want me to look for exactly? And why are we looking for it? What does it do? He's just talking about malware? Yeah, so I will download and install Malwarebytes on this after we're done with the updates. Oystein wants to know if it will update to 23H2. Absolutely. It will also update to 24H2 as well. Yes. We're just not there yet. We have to put these other updates in first if we want to go through Windows Update. If we don't want to go through Windows Update, we can skip all these updates, download 23H2 in the Update Assistant from Microsoft, and force it. I don't recommend that process because it takes a long time. Going through Windows Update is much faster, but Windows Update may not offer it to us for a couple of days. Basically, Each update builds on the prior update. So when Windows Update offers 23H2, it won't be, well, you're also receiving a bunch of other updates. It sort of finishes one thing before it starts another. You can skip over that by overriding it with the Windows Update Assistant, but it will take probably about an hour versus 10 minutes if you wait for it. And Laird said he's going to be a member here for 12 months next week. How cool is that? Right on. We appreciate you. Okay, let's take a look how we're doing. Oh, waiting on a reboot. Perfect. Let's go ahead. I wasn't expecting that to happen so quick. Rip City Raider, now a member for 14 months, just renewed membership here. Thank you, Rip City Raider, for supporting the channel. You guys rock. I do hear the fan a little bit speeding up as it's booting. It certainly lets you know that it's on when it does it, but it's not, I wouldn't call it loud, but you can hear it when it starts working. And when it's idle or doing light tasks, you don't hear it at all. All right, remember we had all these failed updates? It's going to check again. If those updates were already installed successfully, it will not offer them again. If they fail the install, then we will see them again. Otherwise, what we're going to see here are updates to any updates. And at any point, 23H2 may be offered to us. I don't know. Yeah, in fact, there it is. Windows 11 version 23H2 is now downloading. The thing about Windows Update is you never quite know when it's going to offer it to you. But thankfully, and just luckily, it just happened during a live video. Now, why are we getting an Intel display driver on an AMD computer? That's confusing. I don't know. Well, let's let that do what it needs to do and back over to the chat room. I wonder if that Intel display driver is going to fail. That's interesting. Ben wants to know why they solder in the CPUs. Well, we're not dealing with desktop CPUs. Only desktop CPUs are not soldered in. All other CPUs are soldered in. Mobile CPUs, be it your cell phone, your tablet, your laptop. You have to understand that the laptop version of CPUs is a lot smaller. It uses less power to be more battery efficient, and also won't have the same specs as the desktop equivalent. If you were to put a desktop CPU into a mini PC, you would have a very significant issue with power consumption and heat, as well as the amount of space it would require just to socket the CPU in. This would add a lot of money to the cost. You'd also need a bigger cooling fan. You'd have to have your mini PC would be not so mini anymore. And so essentially what we're doing is we're taking all of the power efficiency of a laptop. We're making it even smaller and more affordable because we don't have to include a monitor or speakers or a keyboard or mouse. And that's going to shave off nearly as much as half of the price of the laptop, if not a good third of it, by simply not having to provide those components. It also means that if you had an issue with any of those components, the speakers, the keyboard, the mouse, the monitor, you'd simply just replace it. You don't have to open anything up and repair a hinge or any of that other stuff. There's no battery to deal with. That will eventually die, whether you use it or not. All batteries have a limited life. So That's all cost savings, and it also means it'll be far more reliable as there's fewer things to break. And when those external items break, you're very inexpensive to do it yourself just to replace it versus a laptop where you'd have to pay for the repair, which in many cases is more expensive or almost the same cost as replacing an out of warranty laptop. So that's why you'll see mobile devices will use mobile chips. Mobile chips are not designed to be upgraded. They can't be. They simply can't be by design. They're not socketable. Everything gets soldered in. Hopefully that answers your question. Mustang Mike wants to know if the Windows 10 optimizer I have is safe for Windows 11. Yes, yes it is. Yeah, this is going to take a few minutes as we patiently wait for that to complete. That'll give us 23H2. A shame that it doesn't come out of the box with 23H2, given 23H2 has been out about a year, close to a year. So it's not like they didn't have time to update the image here. But again, having no out-of-box experience, I don't know. I don't know about that. It's super easy to simply reinstall your operating system if you're one of those better safe than sorry folks. You certainly can do that. Or as I mentioned, you can order the bare bones version of it and provide your own solid state drive of whatever performance and capacity you desire and put your own operating system on it. Save money by buying the key over at VIP CDK deals. However, it'll always be cheaper to have it done by the manufacturer. If you demand, I guess what I'm trying to say is when you're at this price point, you have to have some leeway with regards to the amount of work you're willing to do or what you're willing to accept. If you're willing to accept less, you're going to have to pay more. That's the bottom line. Nobody's giving away anything for free, and nobody's withholding higher performance new technology away from you that sells for less money. So I understand. You want filet mignon. I get it. But if all you can afford is hamburger, I think it's kind of on you to have reasonable and realistic expectations with regards to what it is you're purchasing. So a lot of consumer, when you see an unhappy consumer, it's usually, in many cases, because the consumer just was delusional with regards to what they were buying. It's really up to you to decide what you're willing to accept for what you're willing to pay. The more you pay, and I can tell you from experience, the customers that buy very expensive computers have very little tolerance for imperfection. And the people that buy the cheapest stuff, especially like if you look here on YouTube for PC flippers, they'll buy some absolute trash. And they will spend hours cleaning it up, fixing it so they can make $100. Like that's to me not a functional business model that can be sustainable, but it's usually something they're doing on the side for fun. Somebody like me would not find that fun. I would find it a complete and utter waste of my time, especially knowing that there are newer, faster computers that are worth a lot more money where customers are willing to pay me a lot more for the value of my time. So I'm not saying the other person's wrong. It's really how we want to look at it. But either way, your expectation should be grounded if you want to be happy. It's your choice. That's all I'm trying to say, man. It's your choice. If you have unrealistic expectations, who's to blame? All right, let's take a look at our update status. We're getting there, about 45, almost halfway, 45% done with our download of Windows 11 23H2. So that's chugging along. And once again, while we wait, this is a great time if you have questions to ask them as we sort of stall for time. Sort of the advantage of doing this offline, obviously, is that we could skip past this and move forward. But if you buy one of these, you can't skip past this and move forward. Be prepared. Know what you're getting into. That's true of any pre-built computer or even a new build. You will have to update it and drivers and all this other stuff. It's if you're impatient, you don't have the tolerance for it, you could pay a lot more and have somebody do that for you. Randy Rablowski says hello. Welcome in, Randy. Our friend Buster is going to bed. All right, Buster. Well, thanks for hanging out with us today. Always good to see you, my friend, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon. Buster's been such a great friend. I can't even express in words. So, always happy to see Buster in our chat. Jason Wyrick says hello. David says, I hope Studio C will have faster internet. Yeah, you and me both. Yeah. We have links for this product from the manufacturer's website and Amazon if you've missed that earlier. Just check the video notes if you are just joining us and you want to see what we're working with. All those details are there about the specifications and price and available options. Leslie Cabin says hello. Marco says it's 11 p.m. in Italy. He's hitting the sack. Well, good to see you, Marco. Get a good night's rest. Have a great weekend. It is Memorial Day weekend here in the States, so we have a 3-day weekend, a big travel holiday. A lot of people want to be somewhere else for the weekend, and better them than me, quite frankly. Joseph Hawkins joining us from New Zealand says it is 9 o'clock in the morning there right now. Cord Oliver says, thank you, Carey, for teaching me how to work on a PC. I've enjoyed the journey on building desktops for my family and friends. It's been fun and a learning guest. Again, thank you. Right on. Well, thanks, Cord. I'm glad you found my videos helpful and inspiring. I'll never get enough comments like that. Keep them coming. Ryan wants to know, he says, I have a Ryzen 5 3600 paired with an ASRock B550 M motherboard with an RTX 2060. I recently made a fresh install of Windows on it. Is it worth installing the motherboard and CPU, GPU software on? I can't really tell you what something's worth, right? One person's trash is another person's treasure. What it's worth is for you to determine. Nobody can tell you what it's worth. If somebody is selling you something, they'll tell you what they think it's worth or how much they're going to trick you into thinking it's worth. How much you're willing to pay is what you think it's worth. And when we're talking about values, your values and my values are very different. We don't even know each other in real life. So I cannot answer these questions. These are questions you will only know, and nobody else will know unless you tell them. So that's one of those questions where you have to tell me the answer. Avery Ramstorff with $1 in Super Chat. Thank you, Avery. Anagiatis Gramopoulos says hello from Athens, Greece. Well, welcome in. The world is watching. No pressure. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing your name, and I apologize for that. Greek names always have a lot of syllables. Not that it's a bad thing, just not used to it. Let's take a quick look at how our update's doing here. Oh, we're in the install process, 23%. Oh, good. It shouldn't be much longer then. Wonderful. And check the phone while we're waiting. Greg Haffen sent an email with a tech question here I can read. Carey, I've read many places on the use of double-sided sticky tape to hold down solid-state drives inside of a computer case, and I'm thinking of doing this for my home server, but I wanted to ask someone I can trust, see if this is safe. If so, is there a safe tape? My reason here is I'm transferring my server to my old Fractal Design R4 case. Since it holds more drives, they do provide an area in the back of the case that would hold the drives. By screwing them in from under the motherboard, if for some reason my two SSDs that I'm using for cache fail, I would have to pull the entire board out to replace the drives. That would be a pain, so I'm researching the use of the tape. I've looked all over the case inside to see if I may be able to jury-rig something up, and thus failed on that venture. Thanks for your time. Keep up the great work. I'll be watching every chance I get. And that's Greg Haffen. Okay, solid-state drives don't care. You can hang them by the cables. You don't have to physically attach them. You can just leave them unattached. You can get double-sided Velcro tape. There's nothing special. It's just like a flash drive. Throw them in your pocket. It doesn't matter if they're upside down, right side up, if they're being shaken while they're in use. None of that matters. If the PC is going to get moved around a lot, securing them so the cables don't fall off is really your biggest concern. That's it. Way overthinking it. I think you just slap them in there however you want to. It'll be fine. Ideally, you'd use a proper case. It sounds like you're using a case that isn't designed for the purpose you intend, and you're trying to jury-rig it to make it work. And that's okay. You'd be better off buying a proper case. If you want to do it the right way, you'd buy the proper case, not using what you have. If you're just going to go good enough, then you don't need to use any tape or anything. Just plug them in and let them hang. You're fine. Pretty simple stuff. Mechanical drives, that's a different story, but solid-state drives are just like flash drives, so they don't care. Martin mentions if you use too much double-sided tape, it can be hard to remove the solid-state drives. Yeah, well, Velcro tape is also available as well, or just let them hang. Better yet, buy the right case for your needs. Cases are relatively inexpensive, so that you have proper drive bays that you can slide these drives in and out of. Solid-state drives are so slow these days, I don't even know why you'd bother, but, you know, to each their own. If I was you, I wouldn't even put them in internally. I would just buy a external dock. If that were me, you're not going to see much performance difference, but to each their own. Okay, let me go back to still installing. Okay. Keith Windsor says hello from South Africa. Hey, welcome in, Keith. Just continuing to look through the chat to see if there's any questions I've missed. This is the time. If you have a technical question, this will be the time to ask. Ryan wants to know my take on Windows Recall. Windows Recall is a feature supposedly that'll be included in 24H2, although the European Union is quite up in arms about the privacy concerns. If you don't know what it is, it's been in all the tech news lately, and I don't have any feelings about it one way or the other. If people like it, we can leave it on. If people don't like it, we can turn it off. It's not as though you don't have a choice. I suppose the concern is for people who don't know, but that's not really anybody's fault but their own, right? If you're getting yourself into something and you don't quite understand what you're getting yourself into, I don't know that that's the fault of the company so much as the fault of the customer. However, I don't really care one way or the other. If customers like it or they don't like it, I don't have a dog in the race. I don't have feelings one way or the other about that. I provide a service to give my customers what they want, and it may be a feature Microsoft may be forced to remove for security and privacy reasons or not. It's hard to have an opinion about something that isn't really out there yet. Everything is speculatory, so in a lot of conjecture. So it's really hard to say. I hear the fan ramping up on this, so I think it's working. Sounds like it's really going to work. Oh, here we go. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you to Chris Johnson, sends a $25 Amazon gift card. He says, I'm very much enjoying the content over the past 2 years. Thank you. Hey, that's awesome. Thank you for contributing to the channel. A lot of the things we do here are from purchases made by or to from Amazon. And that's where the money's all being spent. So it's great to cut out the middlemen who want to take a percentage. And that enables us to get more so we can buy more products, to be independently reviewing what we want, when we want, and how we want, versus being told what to review by manufacturers. With that said, Maxtang did send us this computer for free in exchange for a review without any contract or commitment. So in other words, I am free to review this when I want, as I want, and I'm free to say whatever I want. And if Maxtang likes what we do, perhaps they'll send us future units. And if Maxtang doesn't like it, then they won't. But we can still buy them if we want to. Hopefully, companies appreciate an honest review. It's pretty rare I will review a product where I can't find something I don't like about it. That I kind of feel like I'm not doing my job if I can't find something to improve. Let's take a look at finishing up this 23H2 install. We'll hit continue on this. Skip that. Not now. Accept. Back. Skip. Okay, that takes care of that. And then we'll go back to Windows Update again to look for updates to 23H2, which I expect there should be some. Hopefully, this will be our last round, and then we can throw Malwarebytes on here. Oh, look at that. We're all good to go. Perfect. All right, let's get rid of this advertising down here on the search bar. Just type in search permissions. There we go. And we'll scroll all the way to the bottom, this last setting right here. Show search highlights. We're just going to turn that off, and then that little annoyance goes away. I don't want this to go to sleep on us, which it has not done, which means the power settings, edit power. There we go. Oh, they're already disabled. That's why it never went to sleep on me. Good, good, good. Malwarebytes. Let's go grab that, and we'll do a scan on this to make sure that it's clean. You can download, although we don't have any arrangement with Malwarebytes, you can download a trial version for, I think it's 14 or 15 days. Hit the home version, hit download. It already starts downloading up here in the corner. Click on that once. Install. Personal use. Next. You can add the browser guard if you want to. I can't see why not. And I've never seen a performance hit from Malwarebytes being installed where a computer starts acting slower. I've never noticed any performance degradation. So it is a product I like. I really have tried to work with these folks to get you guys a discount. And I've not been successful, but I haven't given up either. Peter joins us from Amsterdam, contributes €2. He says, hello, Carey, in chat. Hey, welcome in, Peter. We just have to wait for this to finish installing. We can do a scan. All right, open Malwarebytes. Started, maybe later, start our trial. You can all do this. Trial's been activated. It's a 14-day free trial. Get started. And we want to do a scan. I think I want to do a custom scan. So we'll go advanced, configure. We'll scan for rootkits on drive C. I don't know what drive D is. We might as well scan that too. Here we go. Well, that's not a good sign. Seeing 2 detections here. Not good. We want to see 0. Now, these detections could be something relatively insignificant, like a potentially unwanted program, or they could be something dangerous. We won't know until we allow the scan to complete. We can evaluate how worried we should be. Now, when we set this up on the network, we always set it up on its own, so there's nothing on the network for it to infect. This is a standard procedure, and it should be for any repair shop. When you're bringing in customer computers, you don't need a customer's infected computer spreading that infection throughout your entire workshop in your business. And so of course, my bread and butter is making and repairing computers, and it shuts me down if I were to be lazy about not segmenting off my network away from the business to an individual unknown computer. So by default, that's how we do our reviews here, the same. Sometimes these detections can be false positives. Sometimes they can be very serious. So at this point right now, until we get results, we're going to allow it to scan because there could be more than 2. Again, we want that number to be 0. Is it locked up? No, I don't believe it's locked up. I think it's doing a scan. And while it's doing the scan, it is more than likely taking a lot of resources to scan something. However, whether or not that's the case is too early to tell. I would consider this normal. One of the ways you can tell if it's locked up is if we try hitting the start button and seeing if it pops up. And I would suggest that whatever Malwarebytes is doing is taking a while to process, and we are not locked up. Sometimes it may hit, for example, a compressed file. And to scan that compressed file, it has to open it up and look through it. And depending on the size of the file, what background tasks are running, things like that can take a little bit. It's unfortunate that we're not really seeing the system resources in use right now. I anticipate there's some resources in use. We can go to Control-Alt-Delete here and bring up the resource monitor just to verify that. When we're working on computers, I can't emphasize enough how important patience is, because if you're impatient, you end up taking a bad problem and making it worse. You take a 10-minute solution and turn it into a 2-hour solution because you can't sit still. And, in my line of work, I've learned that the hard way. I am somebody that wants to get it done quickly. But sometimes haste makes waste, and you'll make it so much worse if you just don't let it do what it needs to do, because you're assuming the worst without really knowing. And in order for you to know, and instead of being patient and letting the answer come to you, you go chasing after the answer and it starts running away from you. And so in that regard, it can make any computer repair very difficult. You can see the CPU is being used quite heavily here, as well as a good chunk of the memory. And as you can see that right now, this has continued. We have found more detections. And once again, patience, just let Malwarebytes do what it needs to do. Don't immediately jump to it locked up, or you're never going to get the job done. You're just in your own way. So be smart enough to stay out of your own way. I think some people really need to get up and go do something. If they can't sit still, and you can't sit and watch this, find something else to distract yourself. There's got to be something around the house you can do. Go check the mail, bring out or bring in the trash cans, load or unload the dishwasher, load or unload your washing machine, take out the garbage, take out the recycling, whatever it is. Get this off your mind if you're somebody who can't sit still. If you truly want to know if it's locked up, you'll know if it hasn't moved in about half an hour. Otherwise, I would say if it's not been a half an hour, let it sit. If no progress is made within a half an hour, you can likely stop what you're doing and go back to this again. But people getting in their own way is very common from enthusiasts and home users, where they can't leave well enough alone and they're too impatient to wait for results before coming to a false conclusion they believe is real, only to manifest that into reality. If they would have left it alone, they would have avoided the very problem they thought they had. They didn't have, but they created the problem by making the problem happen. So I see a lot of that. I see manifested conclusions, predefined, what's the word for it? There's a word. You're sort of creating something that would not have happened if you would have just left it alone. And, you know, look, if you want to do it that way, you're free to do it that way. But as a business owner and somebody that gets paid by the job, I don't have the luxury of time that you guys would have to do that. So for me, it goes against trying to stay in business and help customers. Rob wants to know if Windows Defender would detect these problems. Maybe. Windows Defender is very good, but I think Malwarebytes is better. Again, you could just do a reinstall of the operating system, a nice clean install, and just not even do the scan. Just assume the worst right out of the box. Because we did not have the out-of-box experience, that's a bit concerning. But doing a reinstall would wipe out any virus anyway. So you could avoid all of these steps. And it would likely be faster to get to the end than what we're doing right now. This is more of a curiosity just to see what we've got here. But yeah, if you want to be absolutely certain, a clean install is the only way. Malwarebytes may not detect everything if it's a zero-day exploit or something not yet acknowledged. It's entirely possible that a Malwarebytes program or any other antivirus could tell you that the machine's clean when it really isn't. So again, the only way, if you want to be absolutely certain, is to do a clean install. And it's usually faster and cheaper. Joseph Hawkins wants to know what I think of Trend antivirus. I don't really have any opinion. I haven't used Trend in a very long time, or any other name that antivirus company here. So my answer for them all will be, I simply don't have any experience recently with them. So because of that, I don't have an opinion one way or the other. If you like it, use it. They're reputable. They've been in business a long time, but so have 45 other antivirus manufacturers. Ultimately, what ends up making one better than the other is how you value them. My opinion is irrelevant in that regard. I use Malwarebytes, and I find that to be the best value for the money and the least intrusive for my customers. Now, I haven't had any reason to look at current offerings from other manufacturers because Malwarebytes has given me no reason to go looking. So I wouldn't just go looking for the sake of it. I will stay loyal to a product until the product stops being loyal to me. And Malwarebytes has not done that to me. I have no reason to replace them. I'm very happy with it. I don't want some customers with one antivirus, other customers with another antivirus, and yet other customers with another antivirus, and they can call me on a whim and ask me for help, and I'm supposed to know how to navigate my way through that quickly. It can make support very difficult, time-consuming, and less profitable. It means I'm going to help less people. I'm going to earn less money. So if I can find something and use it consistently, then my customers can get consistent help and support in a timely manner. Ron Barnish says, you're taking a long time to scan. My PC only takes 1 to 2 minutes. Well, Ron, we did a custom scan. So normally when you do a normal scan on Malwarebytes, it's just doing a surface scan. I wanted to do a deep cleaning. When you run the 1 to 2 minute cleaning, that's a cursory cleaning. And you can tell by just the sheer number of files it's scanning down here in the middle. And if you do the full custom scan as we've done, I think you'll find it'll take quite some time. John F. says, hello from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Welcome in, John. When an antivirus is doing a scan, it's not uncommon for the scan to stop and process a file for the reasons I've already explained. Again, if you're one of those people that can't sit and watch something, you're only in your own way and you're causing your own anxiety. And if you act on it, you'll be causing problems you don't need to have. I cannot strongly emphasize enough that if you want to be successful the first time, you set a process in motion and leave it alone and allow it to complete. Stop micromanaging it. Nobody likes a micromanager. Tell me what you need done and give me the tools and the space to get it done. Don't keep breathing down the back of my neck. It's making me too self-conscious. I'm likely going to screw up. And that's the human factor. With PCs, there's no feelings involved. There's no anxiety. It's just getting the job done. It's doing what you asked it to do. Now get out of its way and let it do it. For the love of all that's holy, make up your mind. Do you want it to do it or do you not? Micromanaging is just not a good way to deal with your computer or people or any problems in your life, to the best of my knowledge, where it's just not annoying and unnecessary, at least in my opinion. Rob wants to know, how often would you recommend doing a custom scan? Well, Rob, if you pay for the premium version of Malwarebytes, aside from the initial scan, you should never have to do a custom scan again, because the premium version will prevent infections, any new infections. The free version will only clean up infections. It will not prevent them. John F. says, hey, my Michigan brother, nice, cool, sunny, 60-degree day today. You know, I've never been to the UP, but one of these days, I'm going to live vicariously through you until then. Ben wants to know, did the NVMe come infected or when connected to the network? There's nothing on my network that would infect it. Remember, I'm on a business network owned by a technician. I know exactly what's on my network, and there is no source for infection on my side of things. There's no way it could have gotten infected from my network. It's just simply not possible. That means the NVMe, as we see it, apart from the Windows updates from Microsoft, which obviously are not infected, one only can conclude that this is something that shipped with the machine from the manufacturer. Now, you guys are seeing this number here. You're seeing this detections, right? And your anxiety for many of you appears to be through the roof. These may be harmless. These may be nothing but potentially unwanted programs. These may be things that are not spying on you. One of the things that a lot of antivirus will do is identify things that aren't dangerous, but aren't necessary and have a questionable purpose, right? Could be for advertising, for example. That doesn't mean all threats are the same. If someone's coming at you with a stick, if someone's coming at you with their fist or a knife or a gun, these are all different kinds of threats. So the amount of response of fight or flight that you have should be in direct response to the level of the threat. We don't know the level of these detections. They could be nothing. They could be just, hey, this is stuff that you really don't need, and if you removed it, you wouldn't miss it. Or this could be some serious spyware or virus. We don't know yet. We have to wait for the system to finish scanning so we can see the results. And then based on that, we can determine the level of threat. Now, when you buy a new computer, you would expect this number to be 0. But you'd also expect to go through the out-of-box experience too. So sometimes these are remnants of a shortcut that have no malice. I suppose if there was malice, it's about making money, right? So I would not assume a negative intent here, but I need to see the results before I can say for sure one way or the other if this is a big deal or not. It's not acceptable, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is okay, but I'm also not jumping to, the sky is falling because an acorn hit my head. So let's wait and see what it is first and evaluate it second. To reverse that the other way around is a complete waste of your time, in my experience. Dennis wants to know, is it possible this was a returned item? No, this was brand new. Brand new. Definitely not a returned item. But that's a good point. If you do buy things used, probably want to do a clean install, just to be safe. Easy Otter said, should it be taking that long to scan being a new PC? Absolutely, this is normal. Yes. This is a full scan, not a cursory scan. I think you guys are accustomed to cursory scans. That is the default. Malwarebytes' default is to do a cursory scan. We want to do a deep scan. Anything that involves going deep is going to take longer. Much, much longer. But it depends how thorough you want to be. I mean, do you just want to be cursory? Or do you want to do thorough? Me, I want to do thorough. I want to do it once and be done with it. So that's why it's taking so long. And if you were to download Malwarebytes and run it on your computer with the same scan settings, it'd likely take even longer. We're on about 18 minutes right now. Very normal. Are potentially unwanted programs dangerous? No. Otherwise, they wouldn't be potentially unwanted. Potentially unwanted means some people might want them, and some people might not want them. There is no defined, yes, everybody wants this, or no, nobody wants this. Hence the word potentially unwanted, the words. Those two words go together. It's not called an unwanted program. It's called a potentially unwanted. You have to make up your mind as the end user if you want it or not. It cannot decide for you. It's in a gray area that's neither good or bad. It is one or the other depending on the decision of the end user. If you don't know, your default should be to remove it. Jason Wyrick says, I have never done anything but a full scan, and this is actually speeding right along. Davis Parsons said, as a Malwarebytes user, this looks like a normal operation to me. I bet what's been found are potentially unwanted programs. We'll find out. It's hard to know at this point what's going on there, what these threats are, and if there's anything we should be concerned about. Again, if you have that level of paranoia, schizophrenia, or just anxiety, set your mind at ease with a clean install. Then you'll know for sure it's clean. Unless your clean install is coming from a pirated website, in which case I take back everything I said. People try to take shortcuts, usually just end up shooting themselves in the foot. So to each their own. David Graham says sometimes a good file can be flagged. Yeah, we call that a false positive. We don't see too many false positives these days, but it still can happen. Johnny wants to know if we can still use the PC while scanning. Absolutely, you can, for sure. Yes. It will only make this take longer, so. Mark Gaines mentions he has the premium version of Malwarebytes on all of his computers. The good news is we haven't seen any more detections thus far. We're at about 145,000 file scans so far, and that's a clean install, right? That includes all your drivers, of course, the Malwarebytes program itself. We haven't added anything else, so that's just a clean Windows install these days. That's how complicated Windows 11 is. And again, if we would have done a clean install, we probably would have already been done by now. So that's the other side to consider. When it's a brand new machine and there's nothing to reinstall, and there's no worry about activations. In 20 minutes, I could have had Windows 11 23H2 installed without any of the delays of updates or running any sort of detection scan. Or I could still run the detection scan, but I guarantee it'll come up 0 if I do it. Sometimes it's about time and sometimes it's about money. And it depends on where you sit on the fence on that. We've only got about 20 minutes left of today's broadcast, so I'm hoping we can, well, we're going to get to the conclusion one way or the other, but I would prefer if it were done during our regular scheduled show time. Our thanks, of course, to Mara joining us in the chat. She does all of our channel administration here. All the behind the scenes work, setting up today's thumbnail, all our video notes. Mara does all that, as well as if you email the channel using the email address on the About page on our YouTube channel here. She is the one that will usually respond to you. She's usually quite quick and very good at doing what she does, and we certainly appreciate the help. And Raj wants me to check my email. You know what? That's a great idea, Raj. And look at that. Raj sends an Amazon gift card for $50. Right on. Thank you, Raj. Again, appreciate all the support we can get here so we can maintain being unbiased without consequences of the reviews that we do. Say, hey, is this something I would buy? Is this something I would recommend to my customers? I really like the specifications of this, but I do not like the way Windows was installed. It's no big deal to reinstall Windows, but I've got to calculate that into the cost savings and determine if time or money is something I'd rather save. So in some cases, this may not be an acceptable solution when time is of the essence and I got to get a solution to a customer. On the other hand, if the customer has a very limited budget and they want as much as they can get for the money, I would suggest ordering this without the SSD. Put your own SSD in it, or prepare to install your own operating system. Now you can download Windows 11 from Microsoft and create your own bootable media completely for free, and you know it's legit because it's coming from Microsoft using their media creation tool. And I have a video that shows you how to do it. Reactivation should automatically happen. However, the good news is if it doesn't, you can go to VIP CDK deals and buy a Windows 10 Pro key for less money, use our discount code, and just enter that right into your Windows 11 Pro reinstall, and it'll stay activated for life after that, unless you use that key somewhere else. But as long as that key is only used that one time, it ties to this motherboard for life. We just don't know how the manufacturer activated this. If they activated it in a legit way, then a reinstall will auto-activate it. If they've activated it in a janky way, then when we reinstall, we will not get any auto-activation and we will have to provide a key. And given that we did not go through the out-of-box experience, I'm making an assumption here that if we were to do a reinstall of Windows 11 Pro, we will have to put the drivers back in for sure, including the AMD Adrenalin software. And more than likely, it's not going to activate. And that means that we can just go get our own key for, I think it's $16.55 for Windows 10 Pro. Enter the Windows 10 Pro key into Windows 11 Pro, and it will activate it and stay activated for life. It can't be moved. It stays activated to this PC and only this PC. And then any future reinstalls of Windows 11 will auto-activate from that point forward. Zach Bischoff renews membership, now a member for 17 months. Hello, Carey, he says, in all in chat. I feel like I just became a supporter yesterday. Boy, does time fly. Yeah, 17 months. Well, we certainly appreciate you. Thank you so much. We're over 160,000 files scanned so far in a brand new install of Windows 11. So even if I installed this Windows 11 fresh and clean and we did this again, we'd still be scanning this amount of files. Windows 11 is a very, very complex operating system. I believe it has over 10 million lines of code, maybe. I mean, geez, I could be well out of date on that number. It's grown quite a bit and evolved quite a bit, and that's a far cry from the lines of code that were in DOS or Windows 3.1. Mira Ora with a $5 super chat says, hi all, guess I was away for too long and lost my Smurf. Oh, we'll make you blue again, Mira Ora. Craig Casabona with a $20 super chat. Right on. Well, thank you, Mira Ora, and thank you, Craig, for your super chat support. We appreciate you. Daryl Cochran says the base Windows 11 has 50 million lines of code. I was well out of date. It's grown a lot. It's only getting bigger. So keep that in mind. We'll probably be at 100 million lines of code here before too long. But as they want to add features, ease of use, reliability, and security, it's just inevitably going to just get bigger and bigger and more complex. And such is the nature of software. Now, if we want to get rid of the pretty pictures and go back to DOS commands, we can remove the vast majority of that code. Ryan wants to know, is it true Windows 10 still has more market share? Oh, by far, yeah. Windows 10 is about 70% or more of market share, last I read. Alan says Google the amount of code in Windows 11. They say, according to the Google results, around 50 million lines of code for Windows 11 and 35 million lines of code in Windows 10. Same old story. Yeah, it'll continue to grow as the more advanced it becomes, the more code it takes to be that advanced. Can't have one without the other. Half an hour on this scan so far. And wow. The joys of a custom scan. Normally, if I was at a client's, I would be doing this remotely. Well, first of all, I wouldn't be at the client's doing this. This is something I would do remotely. And in that way, I can walk away and do something else. In many cases, my clients have more than one computer, so I can connect remotely to as many as I want, even to different clients all at the same time. And while one is doing a long scan, I can then start working on the next one, which could be doing Windows updates, and the next one, which could be installing drivers, or the next one that could be doing a drive cleanup, or the next one that could be resolving a printing issue, right? So I can get a lot done remotely. And one of the reasons I maintain myself as a sole employee is to be able to maintain that control of what's getting done and the quality of what's getting done. And in many cases, not only is it cheaper and faster for me to work remotely, I can actually work faster remotely than if I were there. Because if I were there, I'd have to get up and walk to the next office, right? If an office building has 8 employees and each employee has their own office inside of that building, I have to keep walking back and forth to check on the status. Is this one done yet? And then go back. Okay, let's start that one, and then go to the next office. And it can be easy for me to forget, where did I leave off on this machine? Did I do this already or did I not? So working remotely is far more efficient as I have multiple tabs open. Using instant house call, I just have multiple machines if needed and can switch between them. And if something's going to take a while, I can just disconnect or leave it running, my choice, and go to dinner or take care of some chores or errands. It'll patiently wait for me when it's done. Now, if the customer's waiting, that's a different story, but after business hours, nobody's there, nobody's touching it, and it will patiently wait for me. And so to reciprocate that, I'm patiently waiting for it. Cochran wants to know if I've seen NAS Compare's new video about the Asus FlashStore 12. Yes, FlashStore version 2. Yep. Yeah. Was that last week he did that? Not too excited about it, to be honest. But to each their own. Ryan contributes $2 Canadian. He says, thanks for answering my question about Windows 10. Well, thanks for asking it. And thanks for the Super Chat contribution, of course. So we're over 200,000 files on a clean install of Windows 11. Sadly, this is the reality we now live in with the complexity of a modern operating system. Want to make it easy to use? You want to add a bunch of features? It's going to get big. That's why Malwarebytes defaults to a more cursory scan. It's less discouraging to give you results that are currently active versus results that could be a file that's dangerous or potentially dangerous that's just sitting. It's not activated. But should it be activated, it could cause a problem. So a thorough scan is going to show you these infected files that, if they were activated, would cause a problem. Whereas the cursory scan is only, what's going on right now, what's in our startup, what's in memory, is there anything we need to worry about here? And that's much, much faster. So at the end of the day, if you have a virus file, a virus infected file, that's just sitting there not being used and it's not activated, is it really hurting anything? It's sort of like if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, does it still make a noise kind of a question, or, Schrodinger's cat kind of thing. For me personally, I don't want the potential there for my clients to accidentally click on something. So I will take the time and do it right because I have a liability and I'm the one they're going to call to fix it. So if I can remove that as a potential support call, it's in my best interest to do so now. But again, and I can't emphasize this enough, we could have already installed Windows 11 clean and fresh, just deleted all the partitions, started as though it were a new build, and that would automatically wipe out any viruses by default. Of course, that's a much easier decision to make on a brand new machine versus one that you've got all your applications and activations on. Alexander joins us in the chat and says hello. Welcome in, Alexander. Mira Ora says, in December, I got myself a Synology DS1522 Plus with 5 18 terabyte Iron Wolf Pro hard drives for it. Ooh, that sounds pricey, but nice. You like it? Mustang Mike says, would you have the Microsoft Defender antivirus periodically check for threats if you have Malwarebytes Premium installed? No, unless I have a reason to. If something about the system is running suspiciously, I would use Windows Defender just as a backup scan. But because Windows Defender is always running, in theory, it would have detected it on its own. So there should be no reason, unless you disabled Windows Defender. As long as Windows Defender is running, nothing should get past it. So if you know your system was clean, you have, let's say we scan this and we clean it and we know it's clean. As long as we're running Windows Defender, and in this case, if we buy a license for Malwarebytes Premium, nothing else should be able to get through with those gates up. But if we're running the free version of Malwarebytes, there's no gates. Basically, you have to start it and scan it by hand. And any infections can be cleaned up, or should be able to be cleaned up, but not prevented, other than what Defender would do. For most users, Defender is enough, but it just kind of depends on how you use the computer. If you're somebody who installs a lot of software off the internet, or if you're somebody who leaves things alone, it's really up to you to decide what works best. Our friend Tom Jackson with a $7.77 super chat says, hey, hope everyone is well. Thank you, Tom. As always, we appreciate your contribution and love seeing you here. Raj wants to know if Windows Defender is good. Yes, yes it is. Google it, see what people say. Finally, we got our results. Let's take a look. So what we're looking at is the same threat. It is potentially unwanted, meaning it's not automatically unwanted. Ludashi, we've got a registry value, key, and more values. So there is not a virus. A potentially unwanted program is not a virus. Malware is short for malicious software. I don't know that this is malicious either. It is potentially not wanted. So let's quarantine those things. And it looks like it was successful. We can view our report and we can see, we'll go to advanced here. 38 minutes is what it took to do that thorough scan. Apparently no reboot is required. Wouldn't hurt to reboot it just the same. Protection history is here. These are our quarantined items. Close that out and let's restart just to be thorough. I'm nothing if not thorough, and that's why things can take a while. That's why these videos can run 2 hours long easily. If you want the real world without polished edits, taking things out and speeding things up to make them as unrealistic as possible, there's a lot of YouTube channels for you to watch that. What I do here is pretty unique, and I hope you see the value in it. And Laird says, how do you get potentially unwanted programs on a brand new machine? That is a question to be asked by Maxtang, the manufacturer. Nobody but them can answer that question. Now, if we do a quick check here on our solid state drive, we can run Crystal Disk Mark. Let's take a look at what kind of performance numbers we get out of this bad boy. I don't know who the manufacturer is. So let's grab, well, I will install VLC like I always do. And I'll also grab Uncle Carey's Windows 10 optimizer. Drag that over. And let's see, PC testing software is here. We'll drag across CPU-Z and Crystal Disk Mark Portable. These are just a bunch of free utilities that I use, along with my optimizer that teaming up with our friends over at D7X Tech has created and customized for my needs as a computer tech for my customers. There's nothing special it does with regards to magic. It's just automating a process to ensure that every computer that I work on, build, repair, upgrade, it gets configured exactly the same, very, very quickly, very thoroughly, without me having to do it by hand. So my customers, once again, can have an assistant experience from me. So here we go. We're running Crystal Disk Mark right now. This is Gen 4, so I should see somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000. Yeah, that's what I would expect. If you go with a high-end, more expensive Gen 4, you can get about 7,300 on your reads, but that would also make the machine was going to be more expensive. So, but we're definitely above Gen 3 speeds here, which is what we want to see. As to who makes that drive, we can take a quick look. While this is running, it might interfere with our accuracy of our results, but let's right click, we'll go to properties, and we'll click the hardware tab and see who makes this. Kingston. So we have a Kingston drive. Hey, what size is it? Oh, this is interesting. They have split the drive. We have about 200 gigs on our C drive, and we have 800 gigs on the D drive. I'm not a fan of this old school mentality from the 1980s and 1990s. This is what old people do, as far as I'm concerned. Some of you were like, so you do this? No, damn it. I'm not one of those old people. Younger people probably wouldn't understand why this is this way, and nor should they, because this is an old school attitude that carries over from hard disk drives and cluster sizes of FAT16 and FAT32 file systems. And if that's all gibberish to you, well, just take my word for it. You should not have a D drive. You should just have one big C drive totaling 1 terabyte. We take the 800 and the 200, we get 1,000. That's a terabyte. It resolves this confusion. This is just really backwards. There's not 2 drives here. It's 1 drive that's been partitioned to appear to be 2. I think this is extraordinarily foolish and inefficient. I would never do this to my customers unless they wanted me to. So again, if this was 1987, I think this is a great idea. In 2024, I think this is somebody stuck in time who has refused to move forward. But it's your drive to do with as you see. For that reason alone, a reinstall was really the best way to correct that. We could run partitioning software and repartition, but honestly, a reinstall is so much faster than everything we've done so far. These Kingston drives, I'm not a fan of any Kingston product, honestly. I can't tell what's cheap crap from Kingston and what's excellent value from Kingston. It's impossible to know since they don't have a value brand. They just use their name on generically on all products, so you can't tell the cheap end from the high end. For that reason alone, I cannot recommend anything from Kingston. There's just no way for me to really know. And furthermore, I've seen Kingston, sell a flash drive that's supposed to be high end and expensive. That's running half the speed for twice the money of SanDisk, and is built like a Pez dispenser instead of like a respectable piece of hardware. But once again, when you're building a machine for the masses typically don't care about stuff like this. You guys are enthusiasts, you're hobbyists, that's why you're here, you're watching my channel. Most end consumers have no idea what any of this means and do not understand what significance or why they should care. And I'm not going to take time to explain to them why they should care, because they still may not care after giving them the explanation. They might just say, gosh, you're a bunch of nerds, and walk away feeling sorry for us. But be that as it may, we don't have a great Gen 4 in here, nor should you expect one in a price like this from any manufacturer, period. So that's our final numbers with Crystal Disk Mark. And I think that's going to wrap up today's video. We're just a little over, which isn't too bad considering. Overall, I think as a bare bones purchase, putting your own SSD in it, I think it's a great value. If you want to buy it with the solid state drive, be prepared to reinstall Windows 11. I would just wipe it clean, set one big partition, install 23H2 using the free Windows Media Creator tool that you can make your own flash drive. I've got a video that shows you how to do that. Wipe all the partitions, start like it was a brand new build that you built yourself, and it was a brand new drive. So you delete all the partitions, so there's no partitions on the drive, and then you just hit next and let Windows 11 do its thing. If it does not auto-activate, I would go buy a Windows 10 Pro key using the discount code that we have for VIP CDK deals. And once our install is complete and we've updated through Windows Update, the very last thing I would do is put my Windows 10 Pro key I just purchased from VIP CDK deals, plug it right into Windows 11, and it will activate and stay activated for life, unless it auto-activates, which I don't know if it will or it won't until we actually try this. This will take another half hour to go through, and we're already at over 2 hours. So bear in mind, you know, there's so much more we can test, and there's so much more we can do with regards to Prime 95 or 3D Mark, not 3D Mark, Cinebench R23. This testing can go on and on and on. At the end of the day, though, the best test is to put it into the hands of the end user to see if they're happy with it. But out of the box, the way this ships, it's going to need a reinstall, or just don't order it with the drive. You'll get a better drive, and by better I mean faster. It will cost you more money, but in the end you'll end up with a better computer with a nice clean install of Windows 11 because you did it yourself. You don't have to wonder. And not only will you have that reassurance and peace of mind that the install's done correctly, but you'll also have a faster, better drive than what comes stock with it. For everyone else that doesn't know any better, probably should stay away from this. If that's too complex, it's not for you. You're best to buy something else that you can plug and play. You might pay more for it, but you know, for the equivalent hardware, at the end of the day, your expectations should be in line with what you're spending. This is unfortunate. It really is. It's this close. You know what I mean? Like, it's this close. They did all the hard work. It's the end of it. They got lazy. So what can you do? And that's why we review these here. It's not for me to tell you whether or not this has value to you, but what to expect. And at the end of the day, you make an informed decision. If anybody ends up buying a Maxtang computer, already has one, we'd love to know your thoughts on it. My thanks again for everybody who has contributed today. All my friends in the chat, all my members, thank you so, so much. I can't tell you. Without you guys, this channel probably would not be sustainable given the current economics of YouTube. And you guys are the reason why not only I'm still making these videos, but making them as often. You guys go away, well, there's a good chance the channel will too. So thank you again for that, because I enjoy doing this and I enjoy having you here. I would miss it if it were gone. Just wouldn't be the same anymore. So with that, thanks again to Marlena. Thanks again to our friends at Acronis for offering you guys that 30% off discount. Our friends at RoboForm, again, a 30% discount for all new RoboForm customers. If you don't know about Acronis and RoboForm, search our channel. We have interviews and walkthroughs of these products and what they do. Our friends at VIP CDK Deals with the Office and Windows keys, also a 30% discount. Maybe we can convince the folks at Malwarebytes to get you a 30% discount. We're working on it. As a reminder, the careyholzman.com merch site is back up and running. So if you're interested in one of the Zippo custom engraved lighters, case badges, or mouse pads, these are all limited edition. The lighters are one of one, basically. And then when they're sold out, we either do a new design or we just don't offer it. If nobody's buying them, why would we replenish inventory? So ultimately, you guys decide what gets offered and for how long. And my thanks to my sister, who takes care of all of that side of things. That'll wrap it up for me for today. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Those of us here in the U.S., enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. I think you have to barbecue. I think it's a law. But in any event, if you're traveling, stay safe. Those of you in other countries, I don't think anybody else has a holiday today, but enjoy your weekend just the same. I'll see you all again very, very soon. And until next time, oh, and thanks to Maxtang for sending us the unit to review. Or we wouldn't have this content today, for better or for worse. All right, guys, that's it for me for today. Until next time, bye for now.